On behalf of the entire Appian Media team, we are so thankful that you're joining us today as we celebrate 10 years of creating biblically accurate, visually engaging, and freely available content about the Bible. We want people to re-engage with God's biblical text, and we believe that by showing you the lambs of the Bible, you can get a much more thorough and rich and deep study of God's Word. We've been blessed over the last 10 years to travel to numerous countries and create this content and make it freely available all over the world. We're going to look back on the last 10 years and consider the incredible opportunities that God has given our team to create content that really brings the Bible to life and helps people re-engage with God's written Word. And we want to share with you our bold vision for the next 10 years. So thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to continuing it with you. Action. Appian Media is celebrating 10 years, and it's really kind of hard to believe. We all kind of understood that no one had done anything quite like this before, and maybe there was good reason for it, and we just didn't know what that was yet, and this might be the only shot that we have.
Craig and Stuart said, nobody's doing this. And Stu said, well, why don't we do that? I resonate with that approach. My family and I have often said, well, that needs doing, and I don't see anyone else doing it, and we can, so we should.
Early in 2016, I got a call from Craig DeHutt, and it was mostly about logistics. Eventually, at one point, he says, have you ever thought about being on camera? Of course, the answer is no. I've never had any experience like that, but I thought the project just sounded fantastic, so I wanted to do anything I could to help. And then, of course, since then, we've made multiple trips.
I still remember the phone call from Barry telling me, hey, there's this group of guys that I have met, and it's called Appian Media, and you need to be involved with this.
We thank you for your service.
That's right.
If you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would not have said, well, I'm going to be talking about Appian's 10-year anniversary. I have enjoyed watching what we have added to it.
The things that we've been allowed to do and experience over the last 10 years, not on my bingo card, I've been able to ride strange animals, to sleep on top of mountaintops, dip a GoPro in the Jordan River, smell soap that someone makes down in their basement because he wants to use the funds for that to help support the work of Appian Media. It's just things I never would have thought that kingdom work could look like.
Seeing some of the places firsthand that I never thought I'd get to go do. So going up on the Temple Mount, spending the night at the top of Jebel Musa. Moments like that are obviously highlights that I'll never forget. I never thought I would get to interview some of the people I've interviewed and meet some of the people that I've met in person. So whether it was Scott Stripling or Gabriel Barkai or some of these guys, it's been a pleasure and an honor to meet people that are so enthusiastic about biblical history.
The first trip we made over there to film the first 5 episodes of Following Messiah was interesting. It took us several days really to kind of get into a groove. Okay, this is gonna be fun.
I am not gonna cut yet. From this way, all the way down through here.
Yeah,
What's Jeremy doing?
oh, Jeremy, he's lost.
Said he's walking home.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that's even the right direction.
No, it's not actually. Well, he'll be heading north. In another hour and a half, he'll be in Lebanon.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know.
But he won't have enough water.
He
You think
won't.
he'll get stopped at the border?
Well, he won't make it there. He'll die before he gets
Yeah.
there.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
So
We got more room on the bus now. Once we kind of figured out the way this needed to work, after that it worked very well.
There's lots of memorable moments. Sometimes it's 108 and there's no shade and you got that marble reflecting up. And what is everybody doing? They're trying to lean over the cameras to keep them cool enough so we can keep filming. You think, why in the world are we doing this? But then you see the end product and you get a message from somebody who says, thank you for helping me because I ran across this when I really needed it.
My favorite part of working with Appian Media over the last 10 years is when we receive that input from people. A mother will walk up to me and say, "Thank you so much for the work y'all are doing, because my husband and I have sat in the living room and watched your videos with our kids, and then we'll turn the TV off and we'll talk about how that relates to them and their lives and our lives, and how we can be better servants of God because of the grace that God has given us and the love He shows to us. And we're thankful that your videos prompted that conversation in our house."
The goal of all of this is to help people better study their Bibles and to come to know God better. And so when you get that email or you get that message from somebody and they're like, "Hey, we just watched X, Y, or Z," or "We just studied this with our small group, and we had never thought about this before," or "This brought me closer to God," that's really rewarding, where you see people benefiting from God's Word and seeing insights that they wouldn't have seen otherwise.
People that reach out from all over the world who are saying that they've been looking for something like this.
I hear more and more people talk about the validity of the Scriptures. One of the things that we hope that we're doing with Appian Media is that we're providing some of the proof that maybe some of those people need to understand that the Bible is true. These places existed, and they still exist. The people in the Bible existed. One of the things that we're trying to do with Appian Media is show you the evidence and bring it to you.
There was a young kid who came and he said, "You've made the Bible cool." Appian Media has not made the Bible cool. The Bible is cool all by itself. We've just created a mechanism to remind people about how cool the Bible really is, about how powerful the biblical text really is, and how important it is for us to get back into that word daily and consume it and be, like David said, hungry for it, to see fires lit in people's eyes as they talk about the biblical story. That's why we do what we do.
It has been interesting to me to watch this team grow and this team morph into whatever it needs to be to accomplish the task.
The efforts that we make in producing this kind of content is only going to work if the faith of the individuals behind it is strong. So I've got to be a disciple, and Craig DeHutt's got to be a disciple, and everyone who's really leading the charge on this has to be faithful to Jesus. And if that doesn't happen, it's going to show up in our content. So yeah, we do a lot of research, we do a lot of study. I mean, we can't fake this. This is not a reality show where we put our best foot forward and make it seem like following Jesus is some kind of romantic endeavor. This is real life Bible practice. And so discipleship has to be a huge part of that.
I remember when the first episodes of Following the Messiah launched online, and Stu and I were so excited that after a month, 3,000 people had seen the videos. We were blown away. Over the last 10 years, Appian Media's content has been seen over 20 million times in 160 countries. It's now been translated into multiple languages. There are some versions out there that are actually dubbed. It's fantastic to hear Jeremy talk in Portuguese.
Eu não entendo nada, ele disse, e eu compreendi.
And it's far beyond anything that we ever thought when this idea was first pitched. But it's exactly what we hoped a mission like this would accomplish. We are excited that Appian Media's tools are one of the tools that individuals can use to help spread the gospel and cover this world in the good news of Christ, using the roadways of the internet and media, and in many instances, reaching into countries where traditional evangelism is very difficult or even impossible. As those crazy things all come together, we're able to sit back and look at the work that our team has been allowed to accomplish over the last 10 years and go, this is well done. This has had an impact. And we're excited to think about what God will allow us to do in the next 10.
When Craig and Stu reached out to me, the original scope of work was the 10 episodes of Following the Messiah. I was really excited when about a year ago, we sat down and we talked about the future moving forward, and we looked at the pieces we had and we're like, we kind of have the start of a curriculum. Let's get more intentional and let's fill this out.
When we feed our family We go grocery shopping, we don't just grab random stuff. We have a plan for the meals we're going to eat. And it's not just our favorite foods, it's the foods that we need. Christians need a plan for what we're going to consume, and churches need plans for how they're going to feed the church family. And so we want to give people resources where they can see there's a plan to get us through the Bible a number of years that will help us to feed people so that they're getting all the nutritional value that the Bible has us. And so being able to look at a fuller curriculum where we're looking at every piece of the Bible, using the Bible lens as a backdrop to talk about the actual events, we want to help people have that resource.
It's now a complete roadmap. It's a 3-year curriculum where we can have compelling written material and media of any portion of the Bible, Genesis to Revelation.
When I was growing up, I had some incredible teachers, and we used the materials that we had at the time. The idea of having a video clip of the Sea of Galilee is something that we never would have dreamed of. There's so many more things that we have at our disposal. It's just incredible. And that adds so much of an element to your Bible study. It's a wonderful opportunity to open up your Bible and have the scriptures right there in front of you, and then go look at a video clip of the exact place where you're reading. What we would like to do is create workbooks that can be used for generations.
One of the fairly unique things about Appian Media's curriculum is our use of QR codes. The QR codes will be able to be updated. So as we create new content, as we update it, as we visit more places, we'll be able to keep that content relevant so that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it's still leading you to useful technology and useful tools to continue to engage you with the biblical text. We are thrilled to be able to provide you all a roadmap. There is a vision, there's a plan, and we want you to see those empty spaces on the bookshelf filling in. As we're filling in the gaps, we're going to what has probably been the most requested project of Appian's history, the book of Acts and the missionary journeys of Paul.
Our number one request has been Acts and the journeys of Paul. And we have thought about that and prayed about that for years. And we're looking forward to the opportunity of telling this story. But to do that, we're going to need help. The book of Acts is going to be quite an undertaking because it involves lots of travel and lots of time.
We all wear lots of hats. The most amazing thing for me is watching everybody put their pride aside. This is a mission for everybody, and we know what we need to do, and everybody's about getting it done.
If you guys could be in the rooms with us during these fundraising times, especially those final few days or final few hours of every campaign, it's not easy. And it's usually coming down to nail-biting kind of moments. And the times where God's people have shown up in a big way, where God has opened doors that we thought were long closed. It's such a thrill, and our team never wants to take for granted the incredible amount of funding and support and encouragement that you all continue to provide to us. We have been incredibly blessed with a large amount of our necessary funding to make this next production trip. From this point on, the objective is to simply request for people to come on board on a monthly basis. We're calling you our Appian Waymakers. Those of you who are willing to donate, whatever you're able to do from month to month, this allows us to continue the momentum, to go from project right into the next project, because our team isn't having to slow down and wonder where the funds are coming from. It's coming from you all.
For 10 years, God has surprised us, sometimes at the very last minute, with people who jump in and they see the value of the ministry. We're trying to get to the point where if we have consistent backing spread out across a number of people every year, we don't have to do these big pushes anymore. I'm excited to think about if God blesses this and helps this to happen, the momentum that could give the team for a decade and help us be faster and release things sooner.
Kingdom people know how to use worldly goods for kingdom purposes. The generosity of people who have contributed makes Appian Media possible. And so it has encouraged and surprised me, frankly, how generous they are. They see the content, they see the need, they're benefiting from it, and They do what we all should do. When we receive God's grace, we make a return.
We are incredibly excited about our plan for the next 10 years to create 2 full sets of curriculum, one for grade schoolers and one for junior high through adult, to really help people engage through the entirety of the Bible in a 3-year plan. We are so excited to bring this to you using the content that we've already created and jumping forward into our next production, Your Kingdom Come, a study on the book of Acts. Recently, members of our team sat down and just shared memories of the last 10 years, considered all the incredible ways that God has allowed us to use our talents for this special kingdom work. And I want to share that conversation with you. So we just want to jump on this morning and share with everyone our upcoming plans. We are celebrating this year 10 years of Appian Media, if you guys can believe that. It's been incredibly exciting. It's been fun over the last few months to get to interview each of you all and to talk about the last 10 years. So I kind of wanted to open up our conversation in that way. If you guys just want to share overall thoughts of the last 10 years, it can be like a therapy session if you'd like. We can finally let it all out. And, each of us got different starts to this, and some of us came on later on. But share your thoughts, and then we'll go from there as we kind of look forward to the next 10 years.
You're kind of the one that kicked the whole thing off. You don't want to start? It was you shared the brainchild here.
It's true. Yeah, I mean the famous coffee meeting between Stuart and myself, where we sat and kind of complained about what wasn't and wondered why no one had done it before. Now I realize, now I understand why no one had done this before.
They knew too much.
Did it take a decade to realize that?
It took me a decade to finally go, okay, I get it
No.
now. Ignorance, I think, saved us. Where we didn't scare ourselves into not doing it just because it was so unknown and so unusual. We took what we understood how to do and we learned how to do the rest and brought on people. That's why I first reached out to Barry, because the conversations with Jeremy, Jeremy, you had just taken that trip to Israel and you were like, Barry knows his stuff. You should talk to Barry. And Barry, you were like, I should have gotten better caller ID.
That's right. I got that call out on my driveway, and I just kind of walked back and forth and talked to Craig for half an hour or so, and I thought it was a great idea. At that point, I didn't know exactly what my involvement would be. The call with me was more of a logistical call. For instance, if we went to Jericho, what would we be able to see and things like that. And so I was happy to help any way I can. But seriously, I thought it was a great idea, and I thought it was needed. And I'm thrilled with what we've done in the last 10 years, and look forward to what we can do in the next 10 years.
Yeah, we kind of
all of us
sprung
would
on
say.
you. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think all of us would say that the scope of the work has grown exponentially beyond what any of us thought it would be, right? I mean, you and Stu had the initial idea of some video content that was free and readily available to people all over the world, and that evolved into some digital written content. And here we are writing a lot of different things, creating podcasts, multiple different series. And so there's just so much going on beyond what you originally pitched to us 10 years ago.
Right. I watched that original pitch video recently, and it's so fascinating to go back and look. Stu and I used to talk in terms of Netflix of Bible material. So like we had in our minds, we wanted a library, but we mostly wanted a video library. We wanted people to digitally watch the freely available resources there. And you're right, like podcasts were not on the radar. Workbooks certainly were not. Printed workbooks were just not. And it's been fascinating to to see us evolve in that way. That's really what brought Justin on,
Hmm.
is needing originally just assistance in writing and proofing, and then he did more of the writing, and now he's kind of taken over the writing. Um, and then
A
eventually we threw
hostile
you on
takeover.
camera, you know.
Sounds like Conquest when really it
It's
was like
just
somebody's got to do it.
Settlers of Catan, man. You're just
Yeah, no,
taking
no one
over.
wanted it. Yeah.
It was kind of like, who
Uh,
wants to do this? And everyone took a step back, and Justin was like, what?
Huh?
oh, hi.
Uh,
This was a line for the buffet. Yeah. No, but it is exciting, and this this last spring, Craig, you and I got to do homeschool convention, and that was really fun. I know others have joined you for things like that in the past, but seeing people from uh, different experiences, both in education, people like who represent churches who are looking for material, people who are representing private schools or homeschool families, and they're looking for material. And our pitch is, it's so fun to tell people, hey, here's our spiel. We make Bible documentary films and give them away for free. And they're going,
Yeah, they're waiting
there's
for
got to be more.
and.
what's the
Like
catch? What's the
why
catch?
are you here? You can't make money that way. It's like, well, they're free to give away. They're not free to make. But then getting people excited about the material, that this is high quality stuff.
Hmm.
It's not somebody shooting it on their flip phone, and it's biblically accurate. And so, just earlier today, I was looking for information about the city of Lydda, modern day Lod, and trying to find something about the archaeology that's been going on there, and excavations and some mosaics, and there's just scant stuff out there. And so you want to look up information, you use it in a Bible class or use it just for your own personal study. um, and so I think what God has helped us to produce is a treasure, and it's, of course, it's free, it's available, but I don't doubt the quality or the accuracy of it, and it's just such a blessing.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that's evolved over the last decade as well. I mean, we've talked about how the equipment has changed a lot in 10 years, and even some of our trips, um, live streaming was something that started during one of our trips where we tried to do that from our hotel at night, hoping that we had good enough signal and the hotel could handle the bandwidth. And
Yeah.
um, you couldn't do that on Facebook initially when we started. And now everybody's live streaming and everybody's throwing some kind of video up there. And YouTube and the way that people have used YouTube, a lot of things have changed since we started.
Yeah.
And so our delivery methods have evolved, and trying to meet people where they are. The original concept of Appian Media was trying to use the uh, the means that were available at the time, the marketplaces that people were going to, and trying to keep up with that and grow with that. So that's been interesting to evolve.
Yeah. And it's only been 10 years. And
Hmm.
yet I think about the equipment that we used in year one is significantly different than what we're using now as we're preparing for this upcoming trip. You mentioned Facebook has changed, social media. People are putting videos straight onto that when that used to just be,
Yeah,
photos and text prompts. And now, 360-degree video, the types of things that we're trying to capture to, as you have commonly said, Jeremy, future-proof our content.
yeah,
We want people 10 years from now, 20, 30 years from now to still find value in what we're creating and producing. And that's been part of our discussions over the last year and more is, there's still a lot more of the Bible to tell, and there's more that we would like to produce. How do we do it, and what's the best way? What's the way that people are looking for consuming that? And so that kind of brings us to what's next for the next 10. When we sit back and we consider what has been accomplished, um, I tallied it up, not counting podcasts. It's over 30 hours worth of video content.
mm,
And then you throw the podcasts in there, and you're talking 40 or 50 hours. But some incredibly high quality written printed study guides, a photo library. Dan, I promise you, will eventually see the light of day. We're working on a mechanism right now. That's one of the announcements that we're making this weekend. But just
Any
countless
interns?
assets. Yes, I need some more yes, please.
We need
Interns, give
8
me a call,
interns.
send me a message, and we will get some stuff done. Um, but every time we go over there, it's how much can we capture? We may not use it now, but we will use it later. And what can we do to get people engaged again? So we sat down about a year ago, more than a year ago, as a team and talked about the next decade. And so, who wants to kind of share the big vision? We shared a video
Do you
earlier
have your
this year.
graphic? I mean, you created a really beautiful graphic. You can't just
That's right.
pop that up on
The
the screen.
bookshelf.
The bookshelf.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first year, right? Our very first trip. I remember talking with Stu in the Tel Aviv airport after we had wrapped our first production trip for the first half of Following the Messiah. And we started talking about how are people going to consume and use what we just shot. And that's all the conversation started with. And it really quickly turned into, hey, we're not an entertainment company. Like our job is not to do dramatic recreations. Our job is not to give you 15 to 30 minutes of engaging you. And then as soon as the credits roll, you're like, well, that was fun, and you walk away. The goal was to create a resource that helped you understand God's word better. And so, if we were going to do that, how could we use video to engage you in your Bible study? And so that kind of led naturally into some of the discussions on study guides, how to incorporate study guides. And just, we really didn't know the car we had caught by the bumper when we started this thing. We've looked back, and the major productions that we started with, Following the Messiah was the original vision. We need to tell the story of Jesus. And then we started having discussions, what's the next video production? What's the next major story that we're telling? And we tried to balance back and forth between New Testament and Old Testament. Um, but really that was as much organization to it at the time, was about every 24 months, one major production of 90 to 120 minutes. Whether it was all shot in and dispensed in one long video, or whether it was episodic, that was just every 24 months. That's about what we did. And we floated the idea in the early years, if I remember right, some of those meetings in Bowling Green, of the benefit of using Appian Media's assets to develop a curriculum, an organized, systematic study through the Bible, integrating the video and the media that we were creating, the visual aids. And we kicked that around in the early years, but we just didn't have our arms around how to do that. And I don't know that we really had the capacity.
No, it's
to,
primarily the capacity, because I remember
yeah, like
thinking, great idea,
honestly,
great
I mean, the
idea.
funds
Who
weren't there
wants
and
to
the
do that?
manpower simply
Yeah,
wasn't there to
yeah,
do justice to the idea, but it was
yeah.
there. I remember us talking about it in the early couple of years. But last year at the planning meeting, we worked on that some more and came up with that's the vision for the next 10 years, using the assets that we currently have. If we were to develop a 3-year curriculum to take you through the Bible, what pieces of the puzzle do we already have, and what pieces are missing that we need to fill, both visually and with study guides? And so that's really what the vision is for the next 10 years, is to finish out a 3-year curriculum taking you through the Bible.
So I'm going to pitch something to you, Dan. This is not a reflection of your age. It's just you and Barry probably have more experience with different types of curriculum. You've attended in different congregations. You guys have taught. What are you looking for when you think of good curriculum, and how do you think what we're getting ready to develop will be a benefit?
Ideally, when you think about it, a good curriculum is going to make you want to study your Bible.
Mm.
We've all been in some classes where you start looking around the room and you're like, okay, I got to go to the 5th one, and I'll answer that real quick. And then I'll go to number 17 and I'll have to answer that one because it's going to work back around. And that's all you did in Bible class. And now that I have been a Bible teacher, I do appreciate people getting up in front of you and at least doing that, because that's hard. But there's so much more it could be. And so a good curriculum, I think, is going to want to make you dive deeper into your word. It's going to help broaden your understanding of the word. And there are some great curriculums out there. I think some of them could be improved by just even putting in pictures. You know, there's a lot that when you're studying the Bible, you just have questions about. Having been over and, you know, being on tours and leading tours and watching how people, once they walk the land, you know, just I remember a lady on the tour who, I just can't wait till I get back to the hotel and I can wash my feet. And then all of a sudden it just hit her and she started crying, because now she knew not just, oh, that's a good thing for hospitality to wash somebody's feet, but she's in the land and it hits her why that was so important when Jesus talked, you know, Simon, you didn't wash my feet. This lady has washed her feet with my tears, how that was important. And I think that's what we've been trying to do with this, is to help give you some of those clues to understand better. The parable of the Good Samaritan. Okay, it was the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. Call AAA. You know, I mean, well, when you go there and you film it, you're like, oh, he was good as dead being left there. But it doesn't really hit until you walk the land, or what we're trying to do is walk the land for you and have you walk along with us. And so I think it's a unique take on curriculum. I can't really think of anybody who's done it before. There's a lot of good curriculum writers out there. I want them all to talk to Justin and just make our work better because of what we're doing.
Please.
Just, we could get those writers and our writers, we could do this a lot quicker. We could be done getting that 3-year Bible curriculum if we had more writers, if we had more funds, if we were able to do 2 trips a year. You know, there's all those visions. Now I do have to interrupt one like this thought. We keep saying it's been a decade. It's been a decade. It's been a decade.
Yeah.
I didn't think when this first started 10 years ago, how many trips we would make, how much we would do. It was this was a one and done.
Yeah.
In my mind, it was like, we're going to go over, we're going to do this. And God has blessed us to keep doing this. And that's been the encouraging thing. And we blinked. It's been 10 years. It's exciting to see what the next 10 years is going to be as we work on this curriculum and do other things.
Yeah, it's been a fun exercise for me. I've been putting together this video celebrating our last 10 years and looking forward to the future. And I've been going back through footage and behind the scenes of our very first trip and everything in between, the different premieres that we've done and what we, bunkered down and put together during COVID. And wow, I mean, it's been unbelievable. And I like to brag on the team. But mostly I like to brag on God that he has allowed so much to get done. And when you look at it a month or so at a time, I commonly am saying, man, we need to make more. There's so much more we could do. But you look back at 10 years and go, wow, like we've done some good work. And I'm thankful for the team, and I'm thankful for the different members of the team that, some of them have joined us for a little while and stepped away, and we've picked up some additional team members that are going to help us here in the fall. Everyone has done their part and contributed, and I'm just so thankful. And it's quite hilarious especially those first couple of years, to see Barry leading around this group of completely, like, we're just a bunch of noobs. The fact that none of us got ourselves killed or like drowned in the Sea of Galilee, and Barry's mostly got a smile on his face the whole time. While we're just walking around, mouths gaping open, like, isn't this amazing? And how are we going to shoot
Barry
this?
has been leading people around in tours since, he was legally an adult almost. He's really used to herding cats.
And we have been cats, like chasing the laser beam.
It was fun.
So, let's talk about some of those early memories. Because this is one of my favorites. I remember the very first shot, the very first scene we ever did. Jeremy, Barry, do you guys remember this?
Yes.
This is the Church of the Primacy. It's
Yeah.
right on the
Mhm.
shores of the Sea of Galilee. We'd
Yep.
been in Israel for like a day or so.
Yeah.
We had visited Caesarea Maritime. We had shot some B-roll, but this was our first scene. And we had absolutely no idea like
We
how we would do it.
we had no idea. I mean, I think the exact order was okay, cameras rolling, Barry and Jeremy start talking. And we literally, Jeremy and I took 30 seconds over to the side to decide what we wanted to talk about, and we just started talking.
Yeah, we're like, Barry, tell us about the place, and Jeremy, you just chime right in there with.
Yeah.
And man, you guys were such good sports. Yours is a hard job. Justin got a small taste of that in Out of Egypt, where it's like, hey, camera, now say something really smart. And
I sound
I
smart when I'm
appreciate
not being recorded. Yeah.
I appreciate what you guys do.
Well, and
Filmmaking,
kudos to you guys
you
on the
know,
production side. I mean, you had never traveled outside of the country before.
I
And
had
so
been to
that,
Montreal for 48
yeah,
hours.
Canada doesn't count. I mean, no offense to the Canadians up north, but that's not an international
No,
overseas.
no, totally
The
different.
cultures between here and the Great North are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, that was new.
Yes.
Um, you guys traveling with all the gear, there were things about that we hadn't done before as a team. And you and Stu originally thinking, hey, the two of us in the van with one guy, this is going to be
That's
great. And like, we're just going to travel all over Israel by ourselves. And that was your plan. That was the original plan.
That was the original plan. That's why, this is a fundraising weekend. We are asking people to join us as members in fundraising. The very first fundraiser, we asked for $40,000, and I like it. Just makes me,
Wow.
it just makes me chuckle, because that was $40,000 was for two filmmakers and a host, and if we could squeeze a fourth, and then we picked up
Yeah.
Barry, and then we're like, you know what, we could use another production person. $40,000 was not enough, and you all knew that. The donors knew that. We were thankful, blown away to have raised 65 before that month was over.
Wow.
Donations continued to come through even before the trip occurred.
Yeah, but that was tight. I mean, we gave a
Oh,
certain
absolutely.
deadline. Like one of the founding principles of Appian Media when it comes to finances has been to be good stewards of that. And if we don't receive the funds, then God doesn't want us to do it. We weren't going to go into hock and we weren't going to go into debt. So we
Correct.
needed the cash flow to justify the trip. And every single time that we have had fundraisers, God's always blown us away with folks' generosity. I mean, there's just no way that we would do it without the goodwill and the trust that people have placed in us with their gifts. But consistently, God's a God that likes to make you sweat until the last 60 seconds, and then he blows you away, right? And so we have these marks that we give ourselves to be good stewards and try to be fair to people. And he comes in at the last second, and then people keep giving. So I remember scrambling and making phone calls and, how much can I squeak out of my savings account? And, especially in those early years, people weren't getting paid. I mean, we were volunteering and doing things out of the desire to serve others. Our families were sacrificing, we were spending time away from them. And we had to come to grips with that was not sustainable. There would not be 10 years worth of work if we kept killing ourselves.
And I think part of that stewardship is, I imagine you all feel similarly, but when people give to a cause like this, and I felt this as an evangelist, they're not giving it to us. They feel in some way they're giving it to the Lord, and they're putting it in His hands to do that work. And so,
Yeah.
if they're giving it to God, but it's in your possession to do something, we're like, okay, I'm doing this in the name of the Lord. Then we try to use it the way He sees fit. This is not just a gift. This is a responsibility. I don't want to get this wrong. And there have been moments, I wasn't in some of those early productions, but I was in the one to Egypt. And when we were in Wadi Rum and chasing around camel drivers and trying to find someone to interview about life in the desert, and then
Hmm.
they blew up the drone, flying it into a mountainside, and I'm scrambling up a rock face in the middle of the night with a headlamp trying to find a what was that thing?
It's a
Micro
micro
SD card.
SD
SD card.
card.
A mic,
That thing is
and
still blowing in the wind. Yeah.
it's like they're going to find it in 1,000 years and go, "Oh, wow, ancient technology." And there are these moments where you think, "Is this even worth it? Like, are we actually able to produce the thing that we came here to do?" And then
Hmm.
God gives us time and resources and skilled people, and a product comes out, and you hear that people consume it and feel better equipped. I didn't know that about the Bible, and I didn't. I wish I had seen this sooner. Um,
Yeah.
and so the feedback you get from the hard work that goes into it, I think it's a worthy effort. And every trip or every production like this, I kind of go, do we want to do this again? Do we want to do this again? And then on the other side of it, it's worth it because it puts good tools in people's hands to do good work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen. I can say in all honesty that that thought has crossed my mind every production. Um, I've already asked that question for the production this fall. We haven't even gone yet. Um, why are we doing this? Is there a better way? Surely there's a different way that we can do this. Or there's someone else who can do this. And I understand better why there are so many examples in the Bible of when people were called by God to do things. So many of them were like, who, me? No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. The Moseses and the Gideons and the others who are like, surely you've got this wrong. Um, so we're gonna keep at it, and we're gonna do to the best of our abilities, um, as quickly as we can, as efficiently as we can. You know, but it's always been one of our core values to not only just create something godly and good, but to do it in a godly and good way. And so the whole process needs to be driven by that. And so, just to kind of, wrap up our conversation, we're looking forward to the next 10 years. I think it's incredibly healthy to periodically look back at the last many years that God has blessed us with, learn from our
Mhm.
mistakes, try to improve upon our processes, continue to rely heavily on God's direction and His provision. Yes, there have been some nail biting experiences as far as fundraising are concerned. We have not hit every goal. There have been times where the answer was not yes by the skin of our teeth. The answer was actually no, or wait. That
Mm.
was I mean, COVID, the 2020 was absolutely a year of
Mhm.
that. Of
Mhm.
we had plans that just completely got thrown out,
Yeah.
and we had to take a step back and do what we could with what we had, with where we were, and trust that God would open a door later on, and He did. And that's our philosophy going forward. We believe that with the proper amount of funding, with the right kind of help, we're looking to expand the team and additional contract workers, that we can fill the rest of this bookshelf in about 10 years. And this is a curriculum of children's videos using our Lessons from the Land series, hosted by Barry, and then junior high and up. So a second set of curriculum, junior high through adult, that people can go through the Bible in 3 years. And I think this is accurate. All of us have used the material already. What is available in various settings. Small groups. I've done adult classes at church, and I've done it with my kids. And it's just exciting to see those light bulb moments like you talked about, Dan. Just to see the fires being lit in their eyes when they're opening up the Word, going, "Oh, like I get it now, I see it now," and we want to make that available for the whole Bible. And
Hmm.
so I'm thankful for each of you, and we are all collectively thankful for those of you who are choosing to support this content. We would encourage everyone who's watching this and consuming the content in various ways to visit our website, appianmedia.org, and we're encouraging people to become monthly donors. This is the most substantial way that you can contribute to this effort. It allows us this continued roadway so that as we create the content, we can be planning the next project without having to slow down and lose the momentum. And so, if you're inclined, visit us at appianmedia.org. But any other closing thoughts, guys, as we consider the last 10 years and consider the next?
Just
A
our
big
map.
thank you to everybody. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Dan.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, just our map, where you see all the countries that have been used our product or downloaded. That's not us, that's God. But I would love to see the entire world in orange. I don't like those holes. So I'm hoping over the next 10 years, we fill in those remaining countries.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty neat.
We've been blessed to see about 20 million views over about 160 countries now in multiple languages, and that is absolutely a bigger impact than we envisioned when this thing began, and that can only be attributed to the goodness of God. So we're thankful for that. But you're right, Dan. The blank countries do bother me a little bit, and we've got to get those filled in. So thank you to everyone watching, and please continue to support the effort and use the content, and pray for us as we continue to create more for you. It's been incredible to consider what God has allowed us to do over the last 10 years, and it's especially exciting to think about what we're being allowed to do for the next 10, starting with part 1 of Your Kingdom Come, a study on the book of Acts and the epistles of Paul, and we're starting that production trip here very shortly. So our team sat together and talked in more specifics about some of the places that you can expect to see in this upcoming production, and I want to share that conversation with you. Well, we are excited to have you all join us for this segment as we are going into much more detail about our upcoming production trip. In fact, it's just a few weeks away. We are traveling. Well, before I'm going to leave it to one of you all. Where are we going? What are we doing? No, tickets have been
We're
purchased,
going to
Justin.
multiple places. So,
That's
like,
true.
the last production was kind of our first foray into hitting 2 different countries in one production trip. And
And it was
apparently
so
the Book of
easy.
Acts decided that wasn't enough. So
Let's
we
go.
are finally cracking the nut on Acts, which means, Lord willing, Israel, Turkey, and Greece for this trip.
So the Book of Acts. Guys, how long has this been suggested to us?
10 years.
Forever.
Yeah, 10 years.
Since before we started.
I think that
So-
the two projects that people have asked for the most were Exodus
Yep.
and Paul's journeys. And we kept saying no to Exodus because there are things that are difficult about just the archaeology of that. But no to Paul's journeys because you realize it took Paul weeks to do all that. Like it takes a long time to travel from country to country. And so,
Well, it was years.
It was more than weeks.
And we've got 18 days to do through the second missionary journey. So,
But it's big. It's bigger than that. So
it is bigger than that.
You know, the idea of what we're trying to do over the next 10 years is to complete a 3-year curriculum, taking somebody through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And to do that, we had to come up with some kind of outline for the Bible. Like, how do you break the Bible down into those segments? And that meant when it came to the book of Acts, which is such a big part of the New Testament story, there are a lot of epistles that start getting written during the book of Acts. So the approach that we're taking is not just to cover the book of Acts, but to cover some of those New Testament epistles as they happen in the chronology of Acts. So this is a lot bigger than just the chapters of Acts.
Yes. Yes. And so this was, as you guys mentioned, a request of our viewers from the very beginning. I mean, we launched Appian Media with Following the Messiah, a 2-year, 2-trip, 10-episode series on the life of Jesus. And obviously, people were, I mean, they were expecting us just naturally that the next thing that we would do is Acts.
Yep.
And it's a completely different thing to tackle. You know, the Gospels, Jesus preached and his ministry was fairly self-contained in a pretty small portion of Israel. And then he comes down to Jerusalem, you know. The book of Acts is, you know, numerous different countries, thousands of miles, sea voyages, and I'm still not quite sure how we're going to tackle the shipwreck with Paul. Jeremy, you're going to need a stunt double or something.
I do all my own stunts.
I was going to say.
But it was something that we
wait to see
off.
him get. I can't wait to see Jeremy get bit by a snake too. So
I love that. I love that.
This should be exciting.
I picked one up today.
You picked up a snake?
I picked up a snake today.
Did it bite you?
Because I didn't know what it was. But that's neither here nor there. Barry just looked at me.
The apostles had some miraculous abilities. I would not test that particular. And so we kept kind of putting it off, knowing that we would eventually do it. Lord willing, we would eventually do it. But how we would do it, we needed, frankly, we needed more experience. We needed more funding. We needed more team members to help tackle this. And so this was something that, especially as we've developed this 3-year curriculum, to be able to tackle so much of the New Testament by taking these trips, one, Lord willing, this year, and funding permitting, scheduling permitting, taking another one next year, will allow us to fill quite a bit of that bookshelf and really fill in quite a bit of the rest of the New Testament. So take us through, especially for those of you who've traveled to some of these locations before, Dan and Barry. Where is this going to take us? Let's talk about the Book of Acts.
Barry, I'll let you start.
Well, obviously the Book of Acts starts out in Jerusalem, and that's in the country of Israel. And so we're going to go and spend the first part of the trip actually in Israel and visit a number of those sites that we read about in the first, let's say, 12 chapters or so of the Book of Acts. Of course, that would include Jerusalem. That would include Caesarea. That would include a hill in Israel that looks over into Syria in the direction of Damascus, as we talk about Saul and the change that he had in his life as he learned what he needed to do to be a good child of God. And so there's a number of places that some of them are places that we have visited before, but there's a lot of new places as well, because the story is slightly different. And so we want to tell that story as best we can. And so the team is going to start off in Israel and be there for 8 or 9 days, and then going to fly to Turkey. And Dan, I'll turn it over to you now. Going to Turkey and some of the sites that you're going to visit there.
Unfortunately, it's not like Israel. It's a little bit bigger country. And so travel between places takes a lot longer. And one of the things I'm constantly talking to people about is the fact that all of our team has day jobs. They're not full-time with Appian Media. It'd be great if we had the funding to make everybody full-time, but you can't go and take a 12-week filming trip, which would be great if we could. And so we had to really cherry pick different sites. And then at one of the meetings, I know Jeremy and Justin are like, "Oh, this would be great to go here." And I'd pull up a picture and then say, "Oh, well, it's not going to look good on camera. It's just a dusty hill. It hasn't been excavated." And so we're going to go into central southern Turkey, the town of Perge, which was real close to the coast. And we're going to go from there up to Antioch of Pisidia. Both those really have some neat archaeology and architecture. I've loved being in those cities. I hope there's a few extra little sites in between there that we get to go. I won't say it in case we can't go, but if we get to go, you're going to be blown away when you see it.
That's a good tease.
We have already filmed some things because with what we do, that forward thinking, we fill up the entire day with, oh, we got some free time. What else can we film? We need some more terabytes of data for Craig to have to go through.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And so when we're in Ephesus, we were thinking about the book of Acts. And so I know Jeremy's already filmed some things in Ephesus. We went down to the city of Miletus. And so we have filmed some things there. Whether we need to use them or get to use them, or they're a little standalone, we have information there. So we'll spend about 3 days in Turkey, which is not long when you consider how much we won't even be in Tarsus. They're just logistically, there's things we couldn't cover. Lystra, Derby, they don't show up good on camera, unfortunately. We've already gotten Ephesus, we've gotten Miletus. And so what happened on Paul's second journey? Well, the Macedonian call. So we will end up going into Greece via, I think, Germany. We have a couple-hour layover in Frankfurt as we're switching planes. But we will end up going into Philippi, Thessaloniki. There's really not much at all in Berea, but we might stop there just to
still making a stop.
It used to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a synagogue there, yeah.
Athens and Corinth. So we will cover most of the country of Greece, and we will be there for probably about a week.
Yeah.
And I actually was just there, maybe a year and a half ago with my daughter, and actually went to all those locations. So I already know what I want to take more pictures of.
We're already one step ahead from our initial trip to do Following the Messiah, because when we did that, like Barry had been there, Jeremy had recently been there,
Dan had been,
but Dan wasn't with us on that first trip.
No, he joined us the second trip, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so all of the guys who were responsible for like shooting the video, we'd never seen it before. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. So at least this time around, half of these locations, at least I have seen before. Jeremy, you have seen before. And then to know that when we get into Greece, Dan, you have seen that, and recently. I'm really looking forward to. We are also in each country tapping some locals. There's going to be some familiar faces that will help kind of take us through these locations and share with us a local's perspective. And we're really looking forward to meeting back up with some of these people. A couple of them I have not seen since 2018. The Appian Media team has not traveled to Israel since 2018. And so I'm very much looking forward to getting back there. But then Justin's coming along for this trip. And again, he started as a writer. And we threw him in front of a camera, and now like he can't escape. He can't escape. And so this is going to be his first experience for Israel, Turkey, and Greece. And I mean, we're throwing you into the deep end, man.
Yeah,
And you get to bring a son.
Yeah, last time you guys left me on Mount Nebo looking into the Promised Land, I didn't get to go in.
Well, at least you didn't die on the mountain, right? And they never found your body.
Did not die on that mountain. But yeah, I think so. In the past, we have needed some extra crew as gophers, and this year, taking my 16-year-old son with me, we're paying his way to help with that. He gets to have the experience of going out of the country and serving in this way. So excited for the 18 days with him. Sorry to leave my wife and our three other kids behind. So poor Amos will be the only male on campus while we're gone. He's feeling the weight of that. But yeah,
Yeah, we're excited to have him along. We're bringing along Josiah, one of Dan's kiddos, and this is kind of Jeremy. You started a tradition, really, in that very first year. You had asked Stu and I if Keenan could come with. Was he 13? Was he 13 on that first trip? Um,
I think he had just turned 14.
Yeah, he was a young
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
and we were glad to have him. We call him gophers. The technical term is production assistant, which I think sounds a little bit more professional. Um, but we work them just like the rest of the team, and they contribute greatly. We're thankful to have them. And so Barry, your son Samuel, came along for a trip, and we're thankful for that. Um, and that's just kind of been something we've done on most of our trips is allowed some of our children to come along. Mine aren't quite old enough yet, but they've already started asking, and so uh, sometime. But we're thrilled to have both Josiah and Elijah along. And there's going to be several new faces as well as far as the creative team. And we're excited to introduce you all to them. You'll see them and posts about them on social media in the coming weeks. But no doubt you'll see them all over our behind the scenes when we start shooting, Lord willing, starting the end of September. So, what are you guys looking forward to the most when you think about telling this particular story? I know people are excited about us capturing the locations, but what about the story, the narrative of Acts gets you guys excited?
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy and I have been talking a lot about just the way that Luke crafted these two treatises, right? The Gospel of Luke and the book of Acts. And Luke wrote. He's the only Gentile writer that we know of in the entire Bible, and he wrote over a quarter of the New Testament to help one man's faith, a fellow named Theophilus. And his central focus seems to be that the kingdom advanced, and it didn't matter what internal struggles or external obstacles came their way. And so the scope of the story, I think it's like it's been said, you sit in your comfortable chair, or you sit at your desk or a table in a classroom, and you open the book of Acts, and it's like they went here, they went here, they went here, and you don't think about the hardships they faced, the discouragement, some of the um, anticipation of future persecution. So being chased from town to town and what that must have been like, and get the kingdom advanced. And so I think I'm just excited to get a sense of the scope of the story as the kingdom progressed, and the word of God was magnified in those days. So that's kind of the direction we're seeing, and we're going to try to emphasize as we go through here. What about you, Jeremy? What gets you excited?
I think it's the same thing. I mean, it was probably just where I was when I was younger, studying through Acts several times. I mean, I heard about how essential central Acts was to the development of the New Testament and the history of the church. And it's really easy to read through Acts in a utilitarian way. How did the first church do X? How did someone become a Christian? All these very practical things. And because there's just so much to Acts, it's really easy to approach it that way.
Hmm.
But to see Acts in its uh, larger picture, what is its context in the entirety of the New Testament, and then also in the Bible. And so Justin's point about how Luke Acts is this 2-volume development on what King Jesus did both on earth and then once he ascended, and to see Acts through Jesus's eyes, where you see his kingdom expanding and growing and conquering the hearts and minds of men and women as they become his disciples. And so to see it from that perspective is exciting to me. And Thinking through how first century Christians responded to that, I mean, it was because of Jesus being who he was that you converted someone like Saul, who was so zealous, and then he starts making these missionary journeys to bring as many people into the kingdom as possible. So it's very much this triumphant victory march of Christ and his kingdom through the first century world. And so to try to communicate that visually and in its historical setting and help people grasp that, and then to make it plain in their everyday life to realize that the kingdom of Jesus is not just this geographical thing. It's continuing to conquer through the course of history until he comes back. And so I'm a part of that kingdom, separated by several thousand years, but I'm a part of the kingdom of Jesus. And he's still winning hearts and minds. So just that big picture, I'm just really excited about that.
Yeah. And we should explain too, people should come to realize that when we go over and we shoot this content, we're creating two series at once. So we've been calling our main series, that does a disservice, I think, to Barry's, but it's our junior high and up. But then we're capturing the necessary B-roll for our Lessons from the Land series. And so we are going to be producing that as well. We're going to be shooting the stand-ups and things for Barry at a later time. But Barry, when you think about the story of Acts and how it can relate to some of younger a younger audience, kids who are learning this maybe for the first time, or they're studying this and they're starting to ask those types of questions of, what is it to become a Christian, and what does that look like, and how did that come about? What are you excited about as we start kind of piecing those things together?
Well, I was thinking about what Justin and Jeremy were just talking about. And a couple of times in this discussion, we've actually mentioned following the Messiah. And so my mind has kind of drifted back to some of those productions and us putting that together. And I remember that when we first went over there, our original target audience for these videos were basically, I think, middle school to high school students. Because that's where the initial coffee table discussion was originated. And so what we quickly learned once we released Fallen Messiah was that all ages gravitated toward these videos and what could be learned from these videos. And so that growth has allowed us to consider ways of reaching all audiences. So we do have, for instance, maybe a couple of different series. We've got one series that's maybe more oriented to, as you said, high school and up. But then we have this other series that's for that age and lower. And the Book of Acts is exactly what you said. It is the next chapter, if you don't mind the pun, in the story, and because you come out of following the Messiah, you come out of the Gospels, and once you've read the Gospels, the natural question is, okay, what next? And that's the question that Acts answers, is what comes after that. And it is vitally important for young people. It's vitally important for everybody, but it is vitally important for young people because young people are, as they grow up, as they go through high school, elementary school, middle school, high school, college even, they're having to make monumental decisions about their life. They're making decisions about, what they're interested in school. When they get old enough, what kind of people do they want to date? What do they want to major in college? Who would they want to marry? Where do they want to live? What do they want to have in their career? But then the key question that all young people need to ask is, what's the purpose of my life? What am I trying to do? And what does God want me to do with my life? And the book of Acts is the answer to that question. And so I'm really excited to see not only what Justin and Jeremy are doing, and the whole production team is doing with this Acts, the video series with Acts, but then how we can also use that to reach the younger people as well, because they're in a point in life in which they've got to answer, as I said, a lot of these questions. And for a lot of those questions, especially the more serious questions with life, the book of Acts provides a lot of the answers for that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to, honestly, the blessing of us producing this is oftentimes we as the video guys kind of get to sit at your all's feet as you teach. And it's such a joy to work alongside of you all in the preparation of it, but then just to collaborate together and to hear this solid biblical teaching come out of it. We pray that it's a benefit to people. Many of you have been following our efforts from the very beginning for the last 10 years. And many of you have been asking us for the book of Acts for just about as long. And so I'm thrilled that we are finally able to say, Lord willing, this is the next step. We are planning on making a trip in just the next few weeks. And we're excited to have each of you along for that journey. If you haven't already, this is where you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. And if you are so inclined, we would encourage you to jump on our website, appianmedia.org, and become a reoccurring donor. It's through these consistent donations that we are able to have the kind of runway so that when we come back from the production, post-production can immediately begin, writing can begin, and in the coming months, as post-production continues, because it will for many, many months, pre-production is already beginning on what will need to be a second trip to finish the book of Acts and these other epistles. And so we would encourage you, if you haven't already, to go to appianmedia.org and become a reoccurring donor. Any other additional thoughts, guys, before we kind of close out for the afternoon?
No?
Thank everybody
Thanks,
for
everyone.
their support and be praying for us.
Yep.
Yes. And that, honestly, I should have said it much earlier in the conversation, but the fact that we are making this trip is due to some incredibly generous individuals who stepped up as we reached out to them individually to finance what is the longest, most complicated trip our team has taken. And we are financially able to do this because of their incredible generosity. And so thank you to all of them. Thank you to all of you who are our regular reoccurring donors. That allowed us to even kickstart the pre-production without having made anything public because of the finances that were already available. And so thank you. And thank you to all of you who are just consuming and sharing the content. That is such a blessing, and that's what it's there for, and we would encourage you to continue to do that. So, God willing, we will have many more updates for you in the coming weeks as we begin the production of the book of Acts and diving into our 10-year vision, our 10-year goal to create this full curriculum.
One of the things that we're excited to introduce is access to our new Appian Media community. This is where fans of Appian Media can come in, they can have general discussions with other members, they can see some of the things that are coming up next, they can have access to our current video resources, but there's also an exclusive section for our Appian Waymakers, our reoccurring donors who are really helping us financially make more of these resources available. So I just want to take you through what you'll see when you first log into this site, and take you through some of the great features that this new community has. When you first log in, you'll create a username and password, and you'll have access to the general portions of this site. You'll see things over here, the welcome and start here. This is just going to give you information on what this community is for, how it works, what we hope to get from you as contributors, and explain a little bit about the differences between the sections for all members and the exclusive section for our Waymakers. So it just gives some of that general information.
Additionally, we've got community guidelines. We expect everyone jumping on here to be thoughtful and encouraging as they post things and share things and use the content. But we just want to encourage everyone to follow the same set of guidelines. We want to keep Christ at our center. We want to honor one another as we communicate on occasion with each other. And we want people to stay on mission. What we're doing with Appian Media is creating resources that are meant to re-engage us with the biblical text. And so posting things that aren't necessarily related to that is discouraged. We also encourage you to share wisely. There are things that we don't want others sharing in here, such as other people's copyrighted information. And so we really encourage you to take a look at these community guidelines, pretty basic stuff, encouraging people to be like Christ as you communicate and interact with other members of this community. There's a section in here for general announcements. And again, this is viewable to everyone who logs here on the site. And one of our first announcements is just the idea of these Appian Waymakers, these reoccurring donors. You can become one if you aren't already. And we're throwing in a brand new Appian Media t-shirt that you're welcome to get your hands on if you become a Waymaker before our production trip starting on September 22nd. And so this is going to give you information on how you can do that. You'll see one of my favorite sections is we're finally starting to cultivate what we are calling our media library or resource room. We have thousands of photographs and videos from the various locations that we have traveled to over the last 10 years. And we are starting to compile those together. Eventually, they're going to be categorized by tags and keywords and even Bible passages. But for now, they're grouped together in things like here in our Following the Messiah photos. These are places that we were able to visit, things that we were able to see. And these are photos that you can use in your own Bible classes for your own workshops or sermons. Each photo, each asset can be downloaded. We would obviously encourage you to let people know that you got these resources from Appian Media, but these are free to use, and we encourage you to make use of those. For example, our Following the Messiah, the 2 years that we traveled to Israel in order to create those. There's many more categories that we plan on adding in the weeks and months to come. But for now, this can give you just a taste, see what I did there, of things like the Passover meal that we were able to participate in, the various elements of that, and how you might be able to use that in a Bible classroom. We also are starting to cultivate some of the photos from our Searching for a King. But if you've followed Appian Media for very long, you know that we've got many more locations, even for these 2 series, as well as additional series that we will be adding. And these are all available to people as they join this community. We also have part of the open community section is just a section where you as viewers and benefiters from the Appian Media content can get in here and have general discussions with each other. You can share, you can comment, you can let people know. We love hearing from people how they're using the Appian Media content, or even if they have general questions or ideas about things that are coming up or ways that teachers have used the content. We encourage people to get in here and join in this community. We also have an events calendar, and this one's very exciting here recently because coming up on September 22nd and 23rd, you'll see, as we travel for our production trip, as we start production of Your Kingdom Come, Part 1, our study on the book of Acts. This is going to involve a trip to Israel and Turkey and Greece. And so we've got information, general information on what we'll be doing each day of that trip. So when you're thinking, well, it's September the 22nd, I wonder what the Appian Media team is doing. We've got a calendar of events, kind of giving you a general idea of where we will be. And we'd love to have you guys engage in conversation as we travel through our next production trip. And then we also have freely available to everyone our Bible study resources. These are all of our current series. These are Following the Messiah and Searching for a King, our various lessons from the land. And as we create new content,
Again, this is always going to be freely available and accessible to you all. It's just another way to access it and even use it in your own classrooms. So we encourage you to make use of that. And those are going to be the sections that are available to all general users. All you have to do is create a username and password, and you're here and part of this community. We would encourage you, however, to consider becoming what we are calling an Appian Waymaker. These are those who are choosing to give a reoccurring donation of at least $25 a month. It's tax deductible, and it goes towards the creation of new content. When you become an Appian Waymaker, you're going to get access to, one of the things I'm the most excited about is digital PDF versions of all of the study guides that we've created thus far. So our study guide of Following the Messiah, or our most recent, which is Out of Egypt. You can download that as a digital-only version and use that on your smartphone, use that on your tablet, and you as a Waymaker get access to that. And you can then use that to teach or to share in your classroom. We're also going to have special behind-the-scenes clips. Specifically, this is a really exciting time for you to be joining this community, because coming up, again, on September 22nd, our team is traveling over there and beginning a 2.5-week production trip to 3 different countries. And we're going to be sharing periodically throughout that trip photos and videos, even beyond what we're sharing on social media. And you, as an Appian Waymaker, will get access to that. We really cannot wait to start sharing some of those things with you and really helping you feel like you're part of this journey with us, as you are. We're going to have very specific topic-based discussions. Those are going to be coming up here very soon. And a really exciting thing that we're going to start rolling out in the coming weeks are virtual tours, where members of our team may choose to take a group of people through a video tour, a virtual tour of a specific location or locations from the Bible lands. Maybe you can't or have never been able to travel over there in person. Well, one of our team members will host these periodically and say, let's all together virtually travel to, say, the old city of Jerusalem, or let's travel to Ephesus. And they'll have videos and discussions and take you through in a really casual, authentic kind of trip through the Bible lands. And we'll be scheduling those periodically. Additionally, you'll get early access to content as we release our videos, and they're always going to be free online for people to watch, but you as our Waymakers will actually get them early. Sometimes we may even release them to you and get feedback. We'll use you as a focus group and get your thoughts and questions as we are finishing up the edits. And we always very much appreciate that kind of feedback. So there's already a new clip, something we've been hanging on to for the last several years, that is accessible and available to all of our current Appian Waymakers. And we'll be periodically putting monthly gifts in here as well. These might be additional discounts on the store, or even Appian Media swag. Mugs and t-shirts and hats are always things that we love sharing with those of you who are our recurring donors. And so these are just some of the things that this community is starting with, and we plan on expanding this even more. We're so excited to have you as part of this community. We're excited to see what this becomes as people share how they're using the assets that Appian Media has created and will create in the years to come. You're also going to have links to our Appian Media shop. You can download the app both for Android and iOS of this community, so you can actually use it without jumping onto a web browser. You'll have access to this community, and there are links to that as well. We're really excited to have you along for the journey of Appian Media. Whether you're a general user and just joining the community to have some of these general discussions and access to our assets, or if you would like to become one of our Appian Waymakers, giving a gift, a monthly gift of at least $25 or more to help us create more of this content and finish our 10-year vision of creating a full curriculum of the Bible. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm really excited to share more in the coming weeks and months.
Thank you so much for joining us today as we've looked back on the last 10 years of Appian's history, and we look forward to the next 10 and beyond. It's our goal to create 2 full sets of curriculum, one for grade schools and one for junior high and up, so that people can truly visualize the biblical text and re-engage with the powerful Word of God. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Thank you for continuing to be with us and support us in this work as we start this fall on a production trip over to Israel and Turkey and Greece to produce the first half of Your Kingdom Come, a study on the book of Acts. If you haven't already, we encourage you to become an Appian Waymaker, a reoccurring monthly donor, so that your support would go towards the creation of not just the next series, but the next 10 years goal and beyond. Visit appianmedia.org/donation to learn about all the benefits of your tax-deductible donation as you become an Appian Waymaker and help us bring this 10-year vision to life. Thank you.